Hello, 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 hello. This video is not going to come out on a Friday. This video is probably going to come out. I don't know. It's Monday right now, and I try to upload my secondary like extra content on Tuesdays just to keep with my original schedule when I first started posting. I forgot to breathe. Linky's over here. He's chilling. He's a little babby. Love me a little Linky. Cookie's further over, but I panned the camera this direction because there's so much cat hair visible on the new couch. Also, hi, my name's Chris. This is my couch, and I talk about books and other things coming into the new month. This is my new couch. This is the first peep at the new couch. I was gonna make my new peep at the new first couch on Friday, when my book haul is going to release. Fun fact, on Friday, my book unhaul is gonna release. Where I literally have a 30-second clip of me being like, I'm getting rid of the brown couch! Get this thing out of here! It's great. You're gonna love it. Please, tune in on Friday. I decided I was gonna do this video. I finished 2 books, and so I kind of wanted to yap. This is kind of a yap video. I paused really long for that. So let's yap. I finished 2 books in the last couple of weeks/days. Technically, I finished my 380-page book in like 4 days, which was my historical romance, and then I ended up finishing A Shining by John Fosse, which is a translated fiction, and let's talk about it while I also open up my book fund. So because I finished 2 more books, I'm adding more money to my book haul fund. This is the fund in which I buy books when I get around to being off of my book buying ban, because I'm not through enough books yet. And also, I can't fit anymore through the thingy, and I have another $10 I need to add for finishing A Shining by John Fosse. So, we're gonna count this up, discuss, yap, readjust, and then I'll give you a total towards the tail end. We're launched. A Shining was really fun and interesting because it feels like a person with like ADHD, but knowing how the ending ends, I'm realizing that it was a person who didn't understand. Total spoiler warning. Jesus, spoilers. I'm about to yap and completely ruin both of these books. Okay, that was your pause. Anyways, realizing towards the end of the book, I realized that it's just someone who doesn't understand that they're actively dying. At least this is how I perceived it. They've been actively dying, and it's their brain just like going through 1,000 miles a minute because their body just can't do anything. The premise of the story is this gentleman is in his car and he's driving and he's taking a random right and then taking a random left, and then he basically gets lost on this road that has a bunch of divots in it and then accidentally gets his car stuck right before a forest entry. He then proceeds to have this internal battle on if he should get out of the car, where he should go. Nobody knows where he is, and the whole story feels like a perpetual run-on sentence. And it's how I feel anxiety. I feel it represents anxiety really well, but like it's just constant. It doesn't stop. He's like, for example, he's literally in the car and he's like, nobody knows where I am. Well, I passed that farmhouse on the way down this road, but that farmhouse had boarded up windows, so there's probably nobody in there, but I need somebody with a tractor, and that farmhouse would probably have a tractor, but there's probably no one in the farmhouse because it had boarded up windows, so I'd probably have to walk past the farmhouse that would probably have a tractor, but nobody lives in it, and make it up to the main road. But did I pass any houses on the main road? Of course I passed houses on the main road. I would have had to. It literally does that the whole book. And so it was a little difficult to read because there's no paragraph breaks ever in the book. So when I needed to put the book down, I would have to try to find somewhere where there was a period to be like, okay, I gotta put this down here. And then coming back to it was a little difficult because I'd end up having to reread the entire page, which they're not long pages. But still, I'd have to start somewhere like, no, I read this. And I'd have to find where I stopped at. That would probably be the only downside I found to this book. It was very difficult to like follow along with if I needed to stop. And this is definitely a book you could finish in one sitting very easily if you wanted to. It's like 74 pages. You could sit into it in one sitting. I think it took me like 2 days because I was just like sporadically reading it, but also I was having a bit of a hard time with it being just a perpetual run-on of just blah. And I was like, oh my god. So, that's one of those, overall it was a good read. It was originally written in Norwegian, and I texted my friend who lives in Norway, and I was like, yo, I'm reading this translated fiction that's in Norwegian, which is purely coincidental, by the way. Like, I wasn't looking for specifically one translated from Norwegian. This will end up be my translated fiction for my summer reading bingo. I still have to write my little card out for it to take to the library this week. I'm also trying to get my vehicle up and running this week, so I don't know how much reading I'm gonna get done. I officially finally started You Weren't Meant to Be Human by Andrew Joseph White. I had it with the bookmark in it on page 1. It's my next book in my TBR takedown, and also just my next book overall. And I started it because I had finished The Shining, and I took it to work, and that was a mistake, because a lot of my coworkers and my boss will sometimes just, like, grab whatever book I'm currently reading and, like, flip open to the page that I'm reading on. And I was reading it on the bar top yesterday while it was slow, and I was like, oh my god, I should have looked into his website to go over all of the trigger warnings for this book. I knew it was going to be rough, but I was like, nah, I can handle it. And I can, but I definitely have to not bring that to work. And I need to go look at the rest of the trigger warnings on that, because I'd like to be prepared for what comes next, because I knew a decent bit, and then I still was very surprised, and I'm in chapter 4, and was like, oh my, this is something else. And with this being his first adult novel, his YA horror novels were pretty gruesome. This being an adult one was 20 times that. So if you're not comfortable with a lot of gore or sexual assault or CNC or there's a lot. There's a lot there, but it's also one that my coworker walked in and I was reading it and they were like, "Oh, hey, Chris, what are you reading?" And I was like, "Something super boring. Don't worry about it." Like, I cannot even risk a coworker opening that book right now without potentially scarring them. So, that one's gonna be an at-home only read, because, oh my god, that was a lot more than I was anticipating. And I'm okay with it, but it's not one that I feel comfortable bringing to work just in case somebody opens it. And, like, I'm sure I'll talk to some coworkers about it and stuff, because they all know I read weird-ass shit. And, or, like, anything. But it's definitely one that I'm like, this is not gonna be something I want someone to accidentally open up. Because I also, on Tuesdays, I have regulars that come in, and me and the gentleman talk a lot about books. And he's always like, oh, what you reading? Or I'll be reading, and right when they leave, he'll pick it up and kind of look at it. And that's not what I want him to even, like, look at and see me any different. Because, like, the first 2 pages of the book are just so outlandish and just disturbing in a way that I don't really want to be seen with it. And so, I know that sounds terrible. So, he's an old guy, okay? I don't want to, like, he reads, like, I don't know, classics. I'm being stereotypical here. I don't know. It's a lot, though. So I think I'm gonna leave that one at home, and we're gonna just deal. Wow, this is all $1 bills. Hot dog. So I'm probably gonna bring The Chilling Effect to work next, which is my other library book that I got last time I went, and I haven't started it. And it's the last book I have from the library that I got last time. So I think I'm going to bring that one and read that one at work, because it's a sci-fi space mystery. And so I don't risk the weird looks. Oh, I'm bothering him with my money. Sorry, buddy. I accidentally put it, like, right on his back. Sorry, bud. So yeah, that's gonna be a read at home. I've also been listening, I got the Libby app through my local library, and so I've been trying to get through, I own the Divergent series, so I've been tandem reading and listening to the audiobook for Divergent. And this is the first time I've ever had to use, this is the first time I've ever used an audiobook, and it's fine. I'm not, like, not having a good time. It took me... I tried doing this with a couple of other books to try to help me, like, my commute to work's, like, 30 minutes. And I was like, oh, I'll just listen to some audiobooks. I don't like a lot of people's audiobooks, like, how they speak. So I've, like, just put books on the burner recently that I was gonna start for my TBR takedown and then just didn't because I hated how the narrator or the person doing the audiobook did the audiobook. So that's a no-go for me. But the person who does Divergent is I really like how she story tells, like her I don't know how to go about this. I really like how she talks in character and such. Yeah, so I'm about 50% of the way through the first Divergent book. I'm very excited, and the more I listen to it, the more I realize the movie left out so much, which I know that happens with most book-to-movie adaptations. So let me count this real quick. Just in 20s, 10, and 5s, we are looking at $370 in my book fund, and then however much these ones are, which... I don't really want to count right now, I'm gonna be so honest, but I'm gonna assume, just based on thickness, and because I count ones a lot for my olive jar video over on TikTok, that this is roughly about $75-ish, just because a lot of these bills are crinkled, so they tend to be a little thicker. So, roughly over $400. Definitely over $400 for my book fund, and then we're gonna wrap this up. I'm probably gonna have to go to the bank and get bigger bills for this and put them in this because this is... Oh no, it fits, we're still good. So I pack it into the bottom, and then that way it leaves the rest of this open for the rest of my stuff. Oh shoot. Alright, and then the tape holds it because we need to come up with a new method for the bottom of this, which is okay. It was my husband's, like, first couple of 3D prints. I'm very grateful he thought of me. The last book I read was a historical romance, which was The Earl Takes a Fancy. And my husband picked that one out for me, and honestly, it was pretty good. There was a very minimal smut. It was like 3/4 of the book was just yearning, because it's Victorian era, and it was pretty good. I actually really enjoyed it. The thing, I'm not a big smut reader, so, like, when it actually got down to them, like, going at it, they did it almost back to back. So they were like, here's the first time they're ever, like, doing the deed. And then it was, like, 3 pages, and she went to a ball, and then she came back, and she's like, I need to Kim. And I was like, okay, girl. And then it was very repetitive, unfortunately. So there was technically 2 back-to-back smut scenes, and then the ending insinuated it, but never showed it. And I was like, oh, thank God. I can do with smut, but I just can't do a lot of smut in a book. It's just not my thing, which is okay. But if you're in for a good, yearning historical romance, I gotta say, Lorraine Heath did a phenomenal job with that. It was a pretty good book. I rated it like 4.5 out of 5 stars, or like 4 out of 5 stars if I have to give her a rating. It was really good. I liked it a lot more than I thought I would. That's with most romances. Like, I don't tend to lean towards romances, and my husband's like, jingle, jingle, you want a romance book? I'm like, not really. And then I read it, and I enjoy it. So, I can't say much. So, if he wants me to read, he had an audiobook recommendation. He's gonna kill me for talking about this. He had an audiobook recommendation on Spotify, for Slime Keepers. And he was like, babe, you gotta read this. And I was like, there's none at my library, there's no free copies, and I don't want to purchase it because I'm really worried that the author used AI, and it's pretty clear that he used AI for the covers, and I'm just not here for that. This is a very anti-AI channel, and we, like, looked it over, and he was like, yeah, I think you're right, I do think they use AI on the cover, and I was like, I would not read it to save my life then. Like, sorry, no. If anyone has information on that book, it's a lit RPG harem, by the way. And he was like, babe, read this. And I'm like, what the fuck? Okay. But if you know any more about the author, I can't find a lot of information on it's a trilogy of books. He's written a decent amount of books. I can't remember the author name. I'll put it up if I remember. If anyone knows any information about that, let me know, because like I don't really want to read it if it's got any semblance of AI, especially in the writing, but also like just on the cover. Like, don't be lazy, dude. Just to hire a fucking artist or do it yourself. You can do an abstract fucking slime girl if you really want to. Like, people judge books by the cover, but eventually, like, you gotta either know your writing's good enough or hire someone, please. Like, I don't know. Alright, I think I'm done yapping. There's about $400 in this book fund. So that's the current budget if I were to finish today. Reading like 50 out of my TBR. So, I need to do an update on how many books I've read so far through my TBR. So, get out of here. Scram. You know the drill. Skirt!